good afternoon from Los Angeles. It's Alissa, Coram, and our Chief Content Officer, Chris Gessel, reporting to you live from our newsroom. And you are making your debut here.
At least on Stock Market today.
Yeah, on Stock Market today.
Right.
So on today's show, we're going to be talking about Horizon Pharma, a breakout there, plus a key trading lesson that you can learn with what happened with Etsy stock today. But first, let's take a look at the major indexes. The Nasdaq led the gains, up over 0.7%. The Dow not too far behind, also up about 0.7%, and the S&P 500 up 0.5%. So we have the S&P 500 nearing that 200-day line, the Nasdaq also close to that level. So give us a little bit of perspective about perhaps the scenarios that we could see from here with that key test ahead.
Sure. Well, the market has rallied really strongly off the bottom since December 26th, and so we retook the 50-day, and now we're coming up to that 200-day. You would expect maybe the market to start bumping up against it. Maybe it could go over it and then hold tight. We'll see how it plays out. But it's a natural place where you're going to get some resistance for a while, or at least a few days. So we'll see how it handles it. And actually, it was kind of nice today's session, because the market opened up and then started pulling back, and we're all thinking, okay, well here's here's our pullback, and then in the afternoon it firmed up and we're right back near the highs of the day.
That's right. And if we could pull up the chart of the Nasdaq so everyone could see what we're talking about, that black line there, that's the 200-day line, kind of coinciding with that 7,500 level, although we did have the Dow already retaking its 200-day. But like you said, that's the key area to watch right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we pay a lot more attention to the Nasdaq and the S&P, especially when we're looking at these different areas of support and resistance. So, and as I said, the red line is the 50-day, and we went through that 50-day moving average and then went back and forth for a couple weeks and started moving higher. So makes sense that this will be a test for us, but so far the market is acting pretty well.
That it is. And let's take a look at a few individual names. Horizon Pharma shares closing up 3% today in heavy volume, breaking out over a cup with handle base. The headline here, BlackRock increasing its stake, now owns more than 8% of shares. So a strong day for Horizon Pharma.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice breakout. And really what's, the headline probably, caused the volume to spike today in the price action. However, what's really going on is that this is a drug maker that's showing accelerating sales and profits. It's a classic can slim stock, profitable and getting more profitable. And when you see a move like that, you want to dip your toe in the water and take a test. And in fact, we put this on leaderboard this morning.
Yeah, leaderboard. Check out investors.com, leaderboard.investors.com for all the details on that. Just really quickly, can you explain what leaderboard is for people who aren't familiar with it? It's a great place to get stock ideas.
Right. Yeah, so leaderboard is one of our premium products, and we apply the CanSlim principles to the market every day. And so we're looking for stocks like this, and we'll move in with partial positions. In this case, we went in with a half position on Horizon, and we'll see how it acts, and then probably make it full if it shows continued strength. But leaderboard really gives you a lot of ideas, and it's like real-time coaching. So we mark the charts up throughout the day and give you commentary and let you know what's happening in the market and in the stocks.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at Etsy. The gains really faded here. Opened up, rose as much as 10%, closed up, around 1% below a buy point here. So what is the lesson that we can learn from Etsy, when you're opening your screens in the morning and you're seeing a stock breaking out to a new high, everything seems to be there, the RS line, the volume. What do you do? How do you handle a situation like this?
Well, something that we like to do when a stock is breaking out like that is we'll wait until a stock takes out its first hour high. We did not do that today because it was just so powerful, and it was almost, we're closing in on that first hour. It's just showing more and more strength, and we're worried like this thing is going to get away from us. So we went ahead and put a half position. We didn't put a whole position on leaderboard. However, if we had waited for the stock to take out the first hour high, which was 720 in the morning on the West Coast, that would have been 1020 on the East Coast, we would have been just waiting the rest of the day to put this on. And it's a really good rule. We use it a lot, and many times it saves us from getting caught in reversals like this. And this is one of those times where it just seems so strong, like there's no way it could reverse on us, and it did. And you know, Etsy is a very volatile stock, so we'll see how it goes.
Right.
See if it can hold the moving averages. We've seen this before where it will have maybe a bad day and then come back.
Exactly.
But
because what we saw with Atlassian, which we're now going to be taking a look at, that was an earnings move, and we saw a downside reversal after the earnings report, even though it was a great earnings report. But it just goes to show you another example here of how something could look great in the morning, and then not so much by the end of the day. So even though we do have Atlassian now trading at all-time highs, if we could pull up that chart, if you would have bought at that intraday high on that earnings move, you would only be up just a little bit, and you would have had to sat through a lot.
Sat through like a 10 or 12% correction. But you can see that big red reversal bar from a couple weeks ago. That was a gap up on earnings. But again, on earnings gaps, maybe you don't want to wait for the first hour high, but you can at least wait for 5 minutes. And typically what we look for, if that first 5-minute bar on the intraday chart looks good, and meaning it's an arrow up, the high is above the low, and I should say the close is well above the low and near the high, then you can jump in and purchase it right there, at least start building a position. But it's a good example of give these stocks a little time and see how they're really going to act as the morning progresses, because you can save yourself a little bit of grief.
Exactly. So like you said, looking at whether it's that hourly chart or the 5-minute chart, those are really key tools when you're in situations where you have a very tempting breakout here. And we do have, speaking of earnings, Atlassian, this was an earnings move. A couple names on our radar. We have Paycom Software and Tableau. If they happen to impress and gap up tomorrow, this is a strategy that you would likely want to employ.
Absolutely. I mean, we're not looking really closely at those two names for leaderboard, but if the earnings are great and the action looks like it's going to be a really powerful breakout, we might consider it. However, we're going to be looking at that first 5-minute bar and or the first hour high. All
right, well, some great trading tips from our very own Chris Gessel, and be sure you're heading to investors.com after the close for all the latest stock analysis. We also have our earnings breakdowns and great columns analyzing stocks, looking at the fundamentals and the technicals.
Right.
Okay, and we will see you back here bright and early tomorrow for our market update show. So make sure you're following us and subscribing us across social for the latest. See you tomorrow.